Okay, so unless there are new members joining or participating in this meeting, Mark, I think introductions are not required, but I'd welcome everyone to this meeting today. Declarations of interest, unless there are declarations of interest other than the standard ones that we've put in place, are there any agenda items that people would declare an interest at this present moment in time? And a show of hands would be sufficient for that. No declarations of interest on this agenda. Surinder, can I suggest that we go through the minutes for the public sector part of the meeting, page by page, and then we can approve them?
Yes, of course. I'm going to just share my screen now. Can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, this is page 1. And page 2. And page 3. And page 4, and that was all for that.
Thank you very much, Surinder. I'm happy to declare them as a true reflection of our last meeting. Can somebody just second them so that we can get Surinder just to confirm this as a true reflection, please? Okay, thank you, Rupert. Thank you, Carl. Okay, so that's a true reflection, Surinder. Thank you for that. Now I'll move on to a Bloxwich Advisory Board, and if I can bring Rupert in to give us an update, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so the Bloxwich Advisory Board met last Tuesday, the 7th of November. It was our first 1.5 hour meeting. The allocated time had gone from an hour to an hour and a half to accommodate updates on the work which is going on, which is just expanding all the time. We finished actually on an hour and a half on the dot, so it seemed to work well. We had presentations and updates on marketing communications, the Verto system for logging and communicating progress on all the projects. We had presentations from the lead officers on Green Bloxwich, incubation space and digital access centre, construction skills through regeneration, community capital, active travel and connectivity. Good progress really across the board. Some exciting developments in the pipeline on some of them. I suppose some cost issues on Green Bloxwich, which are the initiatives there, which is being focused on and has been flagged and is being given some focus. So that's in hand. The issue of addressing communications to the local community as well as to the outside world, for example, Invest Walsall and making and telling prospective companies and what's all the good work that's going on there, is definitely that's definitely been focused. What we're trying to do is to kind of get a bit more of a focus as well on communicating to the local community as and when it's appropriate. Obviously not wanting to promise the sun, the moon and the earth before and then not delivering it. So there is an issue there, but it's just something which I think maybe, if anything, maybe there's been a little bit erring on the side of modesty, and that is as much a reflection. That's just really a reflection of the fact that there's so many good stuff. There's so much good stuff going on. I mean, it's quite remarkable to pull together the spread of projects that are going on and the rate of progress that's happening on them is quite remarkable. I think, and I'm always amazed by it, and you know, pay tribute to everybody who's involved. It's quite remarkable. So that's about all I have to say, really, in terms of a broad brush summary of where we are. Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Rupert. Any questions for Rupert around Bloxwich? Okay, thank you, Rupert. Carl, can I bring you in to give us an update on Walsall and what's happening in the Walsall area, please?
Thank you, Chair. So the Walsall Advisory Board met on the 31st of October. It was a little bit of a it was a revisit, really, on the basis that we'd had to cancel or postpone the previous meeting, so there's been a bit of a lag. So we did see a fair bit of, I suppose, progress in regards to the projects and developments and one thing or another when we actually sat down. So in terms of what we had, I don't want to duplicate what Rupert has kindly sort of delivered, because there's obviously a lot of similarities with the programmes in terms of how we're managing and how we're focusing and how we're walking through them. So try to focus on the variances, really. So in terms of the meeting itself, we had a few outstanding actions and what have you. They were all closed out and what have you. So in terms of the collective, they're all progressing well and getting things done. We had an update similar to as Rupert suggested in regards to things like the Verto system and the Power BI. So we've got some visibility on the project content, and very aware that the project leads are updating those so that we've got the data and we know where we are on individual projects, and we can look at the overview of where things are in terms of the funding and all the parameters that are going on with the various interfaces and stakeholders that are involved. There was a presentation, kind enough, I think Natasha unfortunately couldn't join us, but Claire was kind enough to go through and walk us through some of the marketing elements and some of the strategy going on there, which there's an enormous amount of stuff going on. And I think it was raised, maybe Mark actually, that reiterated the point about people's suggestion about getting involved with the marketing. And I think that picks up on what Rupert said as well, that, if they contact Natasha, then, there is an open door there to engage around some of the marketing and some of the communication, so that we make sure that we effectively approach that in all spectrums and channels appropriately. In terms of the specifics on the projects, really, we've got some really good progress going on. I mean, the creative industries, for example, is at REBA 4, submitted into planning, looking for completion April 24. There was a really good discussion around the active travel areas and stuff, some of the public spaces, particularly from the community feedback. I think that was really important. We got some really good suggestions and thoughts from the community groups in sense of, perhaps to some degree challenging some of the aspects that have been put down and just making sure that we were, collectively coming at this in terms of the right answers for the all, rather than, kind of just from a distance. Otherwise, similar to Rupert, we've got a couple of projects where there's some cost challenges, but they're not something that we've not been unaware of. They've been on the radar for a while. They're in the risk registers and the like, and they are being mitigated and managed accordingly. So from that point of view, we're comfortable as where things sit there. And then I think finally the one to mention probably is just two things really. The digital skills, we've had some good progress on that. The 4 units are there. We've seen the layouts, the designs on that. Kevin and I've forgotten his colleague's name, provided us the details in regards to the units, but also in terms of some of the branding, some of the signage, some of the stuff, some of what this thing is going to look like ultimately when it opens, and they're looking for the early part of 2024 on that. So again, another exciting one. We know about the construction skills. Obviously, that's looking to be completed by the 24th of November. So again, very much on our doorstep in regards to delivery. And then the last point really is about the community capital piece, whereby we've actually gone through the process of agreeing and approving 2 applicants, and we've got 2 in the tank, so to speak, in terms of it's still under review and working with the officers through on what their aspirations are. So a lot going on, and good confidence all round in terms of where we are, Chair.
Thank you for that, Carl. Any questions for Carl? Thank you, Carl. Can I then move on to marketing and communication to Natasha, please?
Yeah, sure. I'll just share my screen. Can everybody see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is just a brief overview of the past month's activity. So in terms of sort of the key highlights, we had ITV visited the town centre on the 7th of November. Really positive segment that went out on the following evening on ITV Central News. Off the back of that, we then issued the Sadler's Centre CGIs, the latest ones. Obviously, they're still to be updated on social media and wider media. Mixed response, but lots of engagement on that one. We visited the canal towpaths again to kind of revisit those photos that we took back in March. Andy Street came along, again, really positive. Follow-up comms were issued. That was picked up by the Express and Star. The photos show a really nice difference, really shows the difference that's been made on that project. And then we also had Andy Street visiting the Guildhall that evening. There was a media presence there. I don't know when that's going to be published. That was Andy Street's team that dealt with that. But I'm working with Urban Hacks at the moment to look out sort of fleshing a plan for comms moving forward for that. We're in the process of looking at plans for signage. I know that's one of the things that the board's raised, having some sort of offline marketing and a presence at these key sites. At the moment, we're starting off looking at King George V and the Guildhall. So working with those teams, we're looking to get the signage installed before Christmas, but we've only just started work on that, so I've not got any sort of further update on that one yet. And there's been a lot of focus on media engagement to raise the profile of regeneration in Walsall this sort of past month or so. We've got the local democracy reporter doing a similar visit to ITV on Monday with a tour of the Guildhall and some of our other sites as well. So that should get us some good coverage. So just a snapshot of some of the content that we've had, quite a good variety on our social media channels. We also obviously had the ITV news piece, and we had an advert on the Express and Star website as well. That went out on 2 days at the start of the month. I am waiting for some stats on that to find out how well that performed, and I'll share those when I've got them. And then just a snapshot of some of the media coverage. We're starting to see a better variety of publications talking about regeneration in Walsall. Obviously, we've got the business desk here, UK Construction Online, as well as our sort of local and regional media. So these are the pictures that we had taken on the canal towpath. You can see it's a really nice sort of contrast in those images. We hired a photographer to come along and take those. That was then published in the Express and Star as well. And likewise with the Guildhall, Andy Street's visit on the 10th of November. I know Urban Hacks are working on some 3D scan videos that they're going to share with us that we can start to use in marketing materials. And like I said, the local democracy reporter is visiting the Guildhall on Monday, so that should start to ramp up the communications on that one. And we'll be looking at signage, sort of a two-phase approach with the signage to start to kind of tell residents that something's happening. And then these are just the CGIs, the latest CGIs of the Sadler's Centre that we issued to press. Did get quite a bit of coverage and mixed responses from residents. But I know that the team's working on getting some more up-to-date CGIs done that we'll be able to share when they're ready. And that's it really.
Thank you for the update, Natasha. Any questions for Natasha? Thank you. So our next meeting, public meeting, is on the 19th of December at 2:30. Surinder, we can stop the recording and we'll go then directly into the private meeting.